The SS Milwaukee was a train ferry that served on Lake Michigan. The Milwaukee was launched on December 6, 1902. She was built by the American Shipbuilding Company of Cleveland, Ohio. Her first name was the Manistique-Marquette and Northern No. 1 from 1902 to 1909, and then finally she was named the Milwaukee from 1909 to 1929. She was owned by the Grand Trunk Milwaukee Car Ferry Company of Milwaukee. The Milwaukee had a gross registered tonnage of 2,933 tons. Her length was 338 feet. She had a beam of 56 feet and a depth of 19 feet. The Milwaukee was responsible for shuttling railroad cars back and forth from Milwaukee to the Grand Trunk Railway's dock and Grand Haven in western Michigan. This route was enabled by shippers to avoid the crowded railroad yards and the sidings of Chicago. The SS Milwaukee's home port was in the city for which it was named. The docks of the Grand Trunk Milwaukee Car Ferry Company were also located on the Kickahnee River, or Kinnickick. It's quite a long word if I'm getting that right. These ferries were also very familiar with the sights to the residents of Jones Island. The Milwaukee also had a crew of anywhere ranging between 52 to 46 crewmen at a time. Another note here is this vessel should not be confused with the other vessel, the SS Milwaukee Clipper. This ship was also later connected to Milwaukee and Muskegon. However, they are two different vessels, two different ships. At around 2 p.m. on October 22, 1929, the SS Milwaukee set sail on Lake Michigan and headed into a storm, bound for Grand Haven. The Milwaukee had been loaded earlier that day with 27 rail cars. She also had freight including lumber, perishable items such as food, bathtubs, and Nash automobiles. The SS Milwaukee was last seen passing the U.S. lightship 95, a ship that was anchored just 3 miles offshore and was serving as a lighthouse. The SS Milwaukee was also reported to be pitching and rolling heavily as it disappeared into the rainy mist as she was out on Lake Michigan. The Milwaukee did not have radio equipment on her. It was also considered a routine trip for the Milwaukee, especially in this challenging stormy weather on Lake Michigan. However, this time, some of the 27 rail cars in the ship's hold came loose in the 37-mile-an-hour gale winds. Their momentum within the Milwaukee created metal failure and partly crumpling the ferry's sea gate. A movable steel shield that was, when operated properly, served as part of the vessel's freeboard. This failure within the Milwaukee, in turn, enabled water to come in through the stern deck and sink the ship. The Milwaukee's captain was Robert H. McKay, and apparently he turned back for Milwaukee, but they never made it. On October 24th, an aircraft searched the area of Lake Michigan where she was last reported to be seen, however, found nothing. Some lifeboats from the Milwaukee were launched by the crew, and the bodies of 2 crew members wearing the SS Milwaukee's life jackets were picked up 2 days later by the steamer SS Steel Chemist off of Kenosha, Wisconsin. Again, another 2 more, including the body of Captain McKay, were found by the Coast Guard at Kenosha later that day. A lifeboat containing 4 dead crew members was found on October 26th, floating near Holland, Michigan, on the other side of the lake. That lifeboat that contained the 4 dead crew members is actually now located at the 1860 Light Station and Museum in Port Washington, Wisconsin, and is on display as a permanent museum exhibit. On October 27th, another empty lifeboat was found floating near Grand Haven, Michigan, and upon further investigation, it was found that the ship's message case was floating nearby with an apparent final message. October 22nd, 1929, 8:30 p.m. The ship is making water fast. We have turned around and headed for Milwaukee. Pumps are working, but the seat gate is bent in and can't keep the water out. Flicker is flooded. Seas are tremendous. Things look bad. Crew roll is about the same as last payday. A.R. Sedone Purser. That was his note that was found. Another note that was found in a bottle, apparently from the Milwaukee, wrote and read, "This is the worst storm I have ever seen. Can't stay up much longer. Hole inside of boat." All 52 people and crew members that were on board lost. Only 15 bodies were ever recovered from the ship. The watch on one of those crew members was stopped at 9:35. As the years have passed on, interest in the circumstances around the loss of the Milwaukee was occasionally rekindled from time to time. For example, the story was retold by marine historian Dwight Boyer in his Ghost Ships of the Great Lakes in 1968. Following the loss of the SS Milwaukee, the Grand Trunk needed a new train ferry. A replacement was the SS City of Milwaukee, launched on November 25, 1930. This replacement vessel is now a museum ship and National Historic Landmark. In April 1972, the wreck of the SS Milwaukee in Lake Michigan was located 7 miles northeast of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and just 3 miles offshore on a line between Milwaukee and Grand Haven. She rests in 90 to 120 feet of water. Well, guys, this is quite something, hearing about the story of the SS Milwaukee. The fact that, as I was reading here and studying, that these rail cars apparently became loose within her and started rolling around, crashing into things and causing massive damage in there. I mean, we've all seen railroad cars on the tracks, and those things are huge, heavy, cumbersome, and I'm sure they weigh a ton. They weigh tons. Those are big things, and for those to come loose within the Milwaukee herself and start crashing into stuff and breaking stuff and I guess puncturing holes in her as well, that probably did not bode well for those poor men on that ship. Also interesting that this was just a regular routine thing for her to be out in a storm on Lake Michigan with those massive seas. I guess, is that because she was built to handle such heavy waves and stuff like that, or was this another storm that just quickly whipped up over Lake Michigan and caught her off guard? That's interesting to wonder about and think about. Those messages in the bottles, especially from the crew members, recounting that this is the worst storm that they've ever seen and how furious it was out there. And they were taking on water pretty fast, faster than the pumps could keep it out. And I'm sure it didn't take long for her to sink to the bottom. But what a tragedy, All 52 people aboard that ship lost, and only 15 bodies recovered. But yeah, that'll about do it for this video. What an interesting story, and that there's still pieces of her or of the other replacement ship as well for her in museums and national historic landmarks now of her. That would be something to see. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below, and if you have anything that you can find about it, definitely let me know. But thank you so very much, guys, for being with me on today's episode of Songs of the Great Lakes. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and may this video also bless the souls that were lost on that ship and the families, if there's still family members alive right now. But yeah, thank you so very much, guys. Look forward to the next episode with you, and until next time, God bless you all.